What is scary? It seems to be a completely subjective question. Everyone has different fears for different reasons. For example, I live in Colorado and I have a fear of sharks. Don't ask me why. This is why. But more importantly, what makes a movie scary? It seems as if there is a never-ending fund of horror films these days. Some are scary, and well, some aren't. For example, is this scene scary? I'd say yes, but that might be my nostalgia talking. Is this scary? I'd say no, but it could be to someone else. I think scary is the wrong word when talking about film and its quote-unquote scares. The word effective is better. Is it effective in making me scared in the context of the film? That's the key phrase. Is it effective? Is this effective? Absolutely. It makes me shit my pants and really takes me by surprise. Is this effective? Absolutely not. So what's the difference in a scene like this in La Llorona compared to this scene in Insidious? Or what's the difference between this one effective scene from Insidious compared to a scene in Rosemary's Baby? Rosemary's Baby came out in 1968 and is widely considered one of the best horror films of all time. There are many effective scenes that come to mind when talking about Rosemary's Baby. The whole film is effectively a creepshow. But for some reason, this one shot stands out more than any other. It's quick, it's simple, and oh boy, is it effective.
Thank you.
But why is this one scene so creepy? Is it the context, the implication, the score, or something else entirely? This film, Rosemary's Baby, is a story of an expecting mother who believes her elderly neighbors are trying to steal her baby away for witchcraft purposes. The film is mainly psychological at heart and follows Mia Farrow's Rosemary as she tries to not only prove her neighbor's guilt, but also protect her baby. So let me put you into perspective and give you context on why this scene is so effective. So spoilers throughout for the whole movie. Go watch it if you haven't seen it, it's really good. Rosemary and her husband, an unsuccessful actor named Guy, are trying for a baby after moving into a new place. A woman recently died in the apartment they're moving into, and in just a few days while staying there, a young woman who befriended Rosemary kills herself. So it's not a great way to start a new life, really. Through this death, they are united with an older couple across the hall. The couples have dinner together, and it turns out the husband of the older couple knows all about theater production and acting. Guy keeps going back up to their apartment to hear these stories of old. And then the devil rape scene happens, which on a side note in 1968 is absolutely wild. That was the last thing I expected to see. But the weirdest part of all that was that Guy admits in the morning to sleeping with Rosemary while she was asleep, which is literal rape. So it's hard to tell what's worse. I guess probably the devil rape is probably slightly worse. Anywho, she becomes pregnant with the devil baby, and now she's basically being gaslit and controlled for the rest of the film. Guy suddenly starts to have major acting success, while one of Rosemary's only friends, who is trying to warn her of something, falls into a coma. The older couple replaces Rosemary's normal doctor with their evil doctor, while also giving her these supplement drinks with this thing called tannis root, which turns out to be satanic, of course. The film turns into a slow realization that, nothing is what it seems and I can trust no one. This culminates in Rosemary running away to her original doctor to conduct the birth. He's an asshole too and turns her into her husband and the bad doctor. She's freaking out at this point for her safety, for the baby, and for just about everything else. But she's not done fighting just yet though. As they are walking towards the elevator, she drops her shit and immediately everyone around her starts picking it up. I mean, she is still pregnant, you gotta show some respect. She runs into the elevator and skyrockets to the apartment, barely locking the door behind her in time. The knocking and yelling are loud, especially from her husband, who is clearly frustrated she's being so unwilling to cooperate. But just then, the loud banging and shouting stops, and the door closes all the way. Rosemary goes to call a friend for help, instead of the police, which isn't a great decision, but still it's better than nothing. As she is making this call, this happens. And boom, suddenly all the antagonists are in the room with her. She never had a chance. This one shot displays so much. It is effective in making you fear for Rosemary, as well as realize the power of the group that is chasing her. She really is going against an unknown enemy with connections to just about everyone and everything she knows. The shot in question of the men tiptoeing around is unexpected, unnatural, and very, very effective. It sends a shiver down my spine even on rewatch. Now when we look back to a shot in La Llorona, it is literally set up to be predicted. There is a musical cue, some creepy visuals, the music quiet downs, and then bam, spooky ghost or whatever. Anyone with half a brain sees it coming a mile away. And the timing is exactly what you would expect. It's not effective. I can look and know what's going on. I am always in control and I am never scared. Now going back to my other example of Insidious, I consider this to be effective. Why? It's similar to La Llorona, as a jump scare, and is seemingly set up at least a little from a scene before. The difference is the predictability, the shock, and most importantly, the timing. In La Llorona, you saw that shit happening 5 minutes before it happened, but in Insidious, it's a true jump scare. The scare comes out of nowhere. One shot it's not there, and then boom, next shot it is. It catches the viewer off guard, makes a kind of silly idea into one of the best jump scares of all time. Not only that, the imagery is so striking. Like if a demon does exist, he probably looks just like that thing that was right behind Patrick Wilson. It's scary looking, takes me by surprise, and sets me up for a more ridiculous and interesting second half of the film. Therefore, it is extremely effective. Now back to Rosemary's Baby. How are these two scenes so effective, but in completely different ways? Now on paper, they're very similar. Something pops up behind an unknowing character and the audience is the only one who sees. But the differences are vast. One is indeed a demon, big spooky points for that. One is slower and one is sudden. However, they both somewhat follow a harrowing scene prior. Obviously the context helps a lot for both films. But it just goes to show you how wide of a range of effective scares there are out there. The pacing of both films plays a huge role in why both scares are so effective. Insidious is modern, with a non-stop scare approach. There is about a ghost in every single scene, so one that pops up so fast fits perfectly within the film. While Rosemary's Baby is slow, methodical, and takes its time getting to the point of complete mental exhaustion by the end for Rosemary. So in line with that, the two men sulking around in the background move slowly, quietly, and methodically, much like the plan of the Satanists the whole time. Both compared to La Llorona are miles ahead in effectiveness and getting a good scare, with or without context. So what's the thing that makes the good good and the bad bad? Well, unfortunately, it's a lot of things. The music, for example, plays a huge role, not to mention performances, context in the story, special effects, lighting, the scene prior, and again, most importantly, timing. The non-effective one has the most predictable timing, while the effective ones have near perfect timing for what they're trying to accomplish. For example, without that specific timing of the two men walking past her doorway, the scene would not have been as effective. If the shot would have happened 5 seconds earlier, it would have felt rushed, and you never would have got that sense that she might make it. If it would have happened 5 seconds later, then that sense of she's going to make it would feel less earned and more cheated, plus you have to make another excuse about why she isn't calling the police for more help. The timing seems random at first, but it is no accident. As soon as the viewer gets the sense that she might be safe for at least a few minutes, they come tiptoeing by, ruining the illusion of escape and effectively making one of the creepiest shots in film history. The film ends with Rosemary grabbing a knife and walking into the secret room behind her apartment, not only finding her baby, but her husband, her neighbors, her doctors, and again, people she once called friends, all who plotted against her, gaslit her nonstop for their own personal gain. The distrust in this room, as well as the tension, is thick. With knife in her hand, she demands to see the baby. This one bitch is rocking him like he's at a Motley Crue concert, and he's obviously crying. Rosemary looks at the baby and starts to cry. She points out his fucked up eyes. Those are the devil's eyes. She gave birth to the Antichrist known as Adrian. At this point, I thought she would kill everyone in there or stab the baby or herself, but nah, she just kinda rocks that shit to sleep. She's also probably divorcing her man though, because he deserves it. But it ends with her finding peace in her baby's solace, even though the crybaby is indeed a devil man.